Up next, y'all, you know we're here representing the Met, right? So let's make some noise. She's been one of the pivotal people in making sure that this process has happened, shutting down the whole museum for all of y'all. Up next, let's make some noise for Tanisha from the Met.
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Oh, that's what I like to hear. Y'all sounded so good. Welcome to the Met, everyone. Can I get a raise of hands about how many people have been to the Met before? Okay, it's okay, because y'all gonna get to see it today. And hopefully also I can send you home with some passes so that you can stay. This is one of the world's biggest museums, okay? So much history, so much representation, so much for you to see, and we're really, really excited to have you today to talk about the business of art and generational wealth and entrepreneurship. With that, though, I'm not here to talk about the Met yet. I am here to introduce an amazing woman. She's a former councilwoman. From being a councilwoman, she's moved on to be the Commissioner of Cultural Affairs here in the city of New York. And she is the reason that you really are here today, Commissioner Lori Cumbo. Commissioner.
Woo! Wow. Look at all this young energy at the Met today. This is awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here today. Love the sound effects. My name is Lori Cumbo. I'm the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and I'm going to tell you how my career began. I want you to understand this, because this is real. My career began as an intern here at the Met at the age of 15. That was my first internship ever, was at the Met. Then I went on to the Brooklyn Museum. Then I went on to the Brooklyn Children's Museum. Then I went to Spelman College. I was at the High Museum of Art. Then I decided I was going to go to graduate school at NYU. I interned at the Gray Art Gallery, and I just kept doing it until I decided I want to open up my own museum, right? So I opened up my own museum in Brooklyn because I realized that Brooklyn did not have a museum for African diaspora people, and I wanted to start my own museum. So what I did, and I just want to give you all this to really take it. When I was in graduate school, I used my graduate thesis to create a business plan for creating Brooklyn's first Black art museum. Now, when I started that museum, I had big dreams. I wanted to open up, right after grad school, the first $22 million state-of-the-art museum in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, to celebrate African diaspora culture, and all I got was $5,000, right? So I was like, what am I going to do? I only have $5,000. How am I going to start this museum? Well, I just got started with that $5,000. And let me say this, 25 years later, in 2 months, that museum that I started that was in the roof of a building owned by Bridge Street Church, it went to 80 Arts on Hanson Place in South Portland. And now in 2 months, that museum that I originally created is going to open up in the first multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art Black art museum in the BAM Cultural District right above the Apple store on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, right? But that wasn't enough. I decided while all that was happening that I wanted to run for city council. So I ran for city council. I won 2 terms. And after I won those 2 terms as city council member, I worked on our Mayor Eric Adams' campaign. He saw my trajectory and all that I was doing, and he said, you know what? I'm going to make you the commissioner of the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. Do you know what that means? That means I started at 15 years old as an intern here, and now I am the landlord for the Met and 34 other institutions, and I preside over a $500 million budget that we allocate to cultural institutions all over New York City. So when they say to you, sign up for this internship program, it is a real thing to sign up for these internship programs. No matter what field or career that you're in, internships are the dream. Even if you don't intern here, Whatever your field of interest is, make sure that you are doing the work to get to where you want to go, that you are meeting the people that are going to help you along the way to get to where you're going. And the first step is what you all are doing right here. Not every young person has decided that on this day that they were going to take the time to come out to the Met to better their future and their career. Each of you have decided to do that. So my hat's off in a big way. Just take it to the next level. Keep exploring. Keep doing internships. Volunteer, even if you're not going to get paid. Don't say to someone, like, if there's a great opportunity and you say, are they paying me? And they say, no. Don't suck up your teeth and walk away. Figure out how you can make it work and show them your star power. Because once you show them your star power and what you bring to the table, they're going to inevitably want to pay you for that work. So get the experience, create those relationships, keep learning, keep reading, keep surrounding yourself with people who are interested in the same things that you are interested in. And like me, you can go from the internship to the landlord in a very short period of time. So I applaud each and every one of you for being here today. I'm going to stick around for the panel if you all have more questions, but let me just close by saying this. This is our time. The Met is an incredible and an extraordinary organization and institution in the city of New York, but it's time for all people to recognize that this is your Met. All of these cultural institutions, they are your institutions. You have every right to be in them, to learn in them, grow in them, enjoy in them. This is your world. New York City is the greatest city in the world because we have so much cultural diversity. I want each and every one of you to experience it and live an artful life in New York City. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you on the panel.
All right, keep your mic, keep your mic.
The mic, all right? I'm gonna
Lori, come and have a seat. Come and have a seat. Lori is our first guest on where this next segment is called All About the Women. And so I really want you women to be inspired, also gentlemen as well, to understand like your path as a woman, as anybody, to know that, hey, like Lori just explained, opportunities are there and how do we get there? And I wanted to bring on 3 dynamic women that I know. And first, Lori Como, give her another round of applause, please, everybody. The next person I'm going to bring out is Dr. Vanessa Pinard. Please come out, Dr. Vanessa Pinard. Your mic is in the middle there. And I tell you, this is all about networking. Vanessa's actually my neighbor, okay? And I got to talking, and she's a doctor. I was like, well, you'd be great to sit on this panel. And she was like, okay, Shaun, I'll do it. So this is actually my neighbor, Vanessa. So like, once again, say hi to Vanessa. Whoop, whoop. And then next, I'm going to bring out Shizam Amari. She's Vice President of New Voice Funds, a purpose-driven investment firm. And Shizam has sat on my nonprofit Financially Clean. She's been on it, what, maybe 4 pre-COVID. Everything's like pre-COVID. So we're going to go back maybe 2 years before COVID. Maybe 4 or 5 years she sat on my financial literacy nonprofit and helped direct it and help make this possible today. And also, I don't know if Lori mentioned it, but Lori made today possible, so thank you, Lori, for putting this together and giving us the opportunity to bring these kids here and do this event. Can I go on the record by saying first time at the Met something like this has been happening, or similar or close?
This is the first time that I've seen or known the Met to just open their doors in this way outside of Teens Take the Met. So you all are really breaking glass ceilings and kicking in doors and saying, yes, we absolutely belong here, and we are excited to take over the auditorium today.
Right, and you know, there was no pushback. As soon as I mentioned it to Lori, she was 100% all in, so I really want to thank you and the Met as well. Tanisha, who's back there as well, made it happen. Whatever hurdles that were happening, she was just like, Shaun, I'll get through it, and no worries, we're going to make this work. So I really want to thank them again for putting this together. Tanisha, I know you're back there somewhere, wherever you are, put your head out at some time, and I just want to thank you, and you as well, Lori. So let's get into this panel. I'm sorry, they gave me these shirts to give to you because they want to make sure that you leave with something. I know you're in.
Thank you.
And you guys, for your patience, you're all getting a shirt today, all about the biz. It'll be a part of a gift pack that's coming to you at the end, so you cannot leave because you're going to get your shirt. So stick around.
Love this.
Let's get into it. So tell us a little bit about what you do, because it's kind of, you know, your mic is on? It is on. It's kind of vague. I just want you to connect with the audience and give us a little bit background of what you do and what your day-to-day is like.
Hi, everyone. So I work at a venture capital fund. I invest in startups that are in the consumer space. So basically, if you were to go to Target, anything you see on the shelf, we invest in those types of companies. So hair care, food and beverage, makeup, all of that, health and wellness. And so I'm on the investments team, so I evaluate them, I look at their financials, I look at how big they can become, how we can help them, and then determine if we're gonna invest.
So as a woman, especially a woman of color more specifically, how difficult was it to get into this field? Was it something challenging, and were there specific challenges that you found towards you that you had to deal with and overcome?
Yeah, definitely in this field. So before I went to business school and transitioned here, I did engineering, and that's also male-dominated as well. So a lot of times when you're the only person that looks like yourself in that room, use that as your superpower. And so it's definitely challenging being around men all the time, but as women, we have superpowers, and you gotta lean into that. Like, a lot of times we can be more emotionally connected and unaware. We also are able to be more grounded and not make such rash decisions. But at the same time, you can glean and learn from your brethren, Like, sometimes, there's a lot of research that says that, men a lot of times talk more about their accomplishments, and women don't talk as much about that. And so when it comes up for promotion, they're making sure everyone knows what they've done. So I had to kind of look at that and see, like, oh, okay. I think the hardest part is just kind of, when you're in that space and you don't see someone that looks like you're like, what type of person or what type of woman has to succeed or can succeed in this space? So it's a lot of trial and error, but trying to stay grounded in your authentic and genuine self. But it's like, all right, this is who I am, but maybe I need to be a little bit more assertive, and that's how I'll be able to succeed here. So it's really kind of observing, doing some research, trial and error, trying to figure out what version of yourself, because you still want to be true to who you are, will succeed in that environment.
Lori, look, you're itching to piggyback on that. I can tell it's so I'm gonna let you piggyback.
I'm not so much piggybacking as much as I'm like amening, right? So I would say that I'm amening so much on the part of just seeing who you are as your superpower. And so for me, being a Black woman in any space, whether it was in the arts, city council, and now my role as a commissioner, I so see and it may be myopic or it may be like short-sighted on my part, but I just look at me being a Black woman as like my greatest asset. So in every place that I go into, I'm just like, I'm a Black woman. And it's like, maybe there are people that are hating on that. Maybe there are people who are thinking whatever they're thinking, but I'm oblivious to it. The only challenge that I would say is that because I am a Black woman and I'm also a mom of a 7-year-old, I work like quadruple, maybe 10 times harder than everyone else. Because when you're in a position of leadership, you're showing for the first time what it looks like for a Black woman to lead in this position. And that can be true for whatever you are, Black man, Indian man, person of color, Latino, whatever it is that you are, sometimes you're gonna be the first person in that role. So for me, I bend over backwards to make sure that I'm doing a phenomenal job and I'm crushing it wherever I go, but at the same time, that's exhausting, right? So it takes a hit on your health, takes a hit on your family, takes a hit on your own personal time, but I just look at it in so many ways, like we're in such a moment right now. If you look at it with Vice President Kamala Harris running for presidency of the United States, that wouldn't be possible if the women that you see right here on this stage were not crushing it in their prospective fields, because we're showing what leadership looks like when we're in place, so that inevitably when people see Kamala Harris, they're like, I already worked with and seen some dynamic Black women crushing it. So they will become more comfortable with that idea. And so I would say that's my only challenge, is like overdoing it.
I just like to emphasize key gems that people drop so you guys understand. And we talked about in the previous segment about branding yourself. All these women have really described what it takes to succeed is part of becoming your brand and really pushing your brand forward, so that anybody that sees you, your reflection is a positive thing. And it's not just for yourself, but you're doing it for your family, for generations to come, for people of similar looks and values of you. You have to understand everything is about branding, representing yourself in a way that people will welcome you, right? So, and I think that's a lot of the message they're trying to drive home to you guys, regardless of your gender, race, or color. Now I'm going to go to you, Dr. Pinard. Now we've had some, she's my neighbor, by the way, as everybody knows. We've had some conversations, and I am always like intrigued by understanding what people do. And when you think of doctor, you think like they have this glamorous life, and it's so great to be a doctor. Well, my friend takes 28 clients a day, and then she's on call for delivering babies. She delivers babies, so she brings hundreds of babies, if not thousands of babies, into the world every year. So I want you just to kind of describe these young people like that want to go these careers, like what the work ethic is like. And she only gets a half-hour lunch, and I'm like, is there a union for you? So I just explain like work ethic, like it's not, and what it takes to kind of commit to that kind of regiment.
Absolutely. So I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist, which means that I focus on women's health. My favorite patient population to work with is adolescents, so I really enjoy talking to patients within this age range. In terms of the work ethic to get to where I am, it really, really requires a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice from you, a lot of sacrifice from your family. There are lots of missed birthdays and holidays and friends' parties and just even your own personal self-care time that you have to sacrifice to enter this field. And once you actually do work in this field, the system is set up in such a way that I see 28 patients in a day and I get 30 minutes for lunch. And while that sounds like a very noble thing, I think that my call in this field is to change that because as has been pointed out, it's taxing on us. It's taxing on us as Black women. And in order for us to be the best doctor, the best provider, everything for our communities, we have to be able to reclaim some of that personal time so that we can put it back into ourselves. And so in order to get here, we have to have that work ethic. You have to have it in undergrad. You have to take the MCAT, the standardized tests. You have to then dedicate 4 years of your life to medical school. Depending on your specialty of choice, you have to dedicate more time. In my case, that was another 4 years of OBGYN residency. So that's 12 years total of education, and you can imagine the loans and the financial commitment that comes with that. But on the back end, we also have to create a system where women, providers, doctors, whether you're Black, white, whatever, we're also compensated to make it worthwhile so that we can be able to support our patients.
Wow. So, question for you guys. As young women listening today, what are 2 ingredients do you think they need to have to succeed in a more male-dominated? Because you guys a lot of you guys are doing what your careers are very male-dominated. So what would you give like 2 active ingredients that they need to definitely have in order to navigate and achieve success in your respective fields?
I would say to be yourself, At the end of the day, there's only one you and there's only one thing that makes you unique. And it's really hard when you don't have an example or have someone ahead of you to look to because you feel that you kind of have to model what's already out there, But that was something that I really tried to stay true to, to be myself. I love nail art. So my patients and I, we literally spend the first 10 minutes of our appointments talking about our nails. Or on any given day, if you look at my picture, my hair is in a huge curly fro. We're talking about hair products. So really being able to carry that part of you throughout your journey and your career, I think is extremely important. And I think that a lot of people connect with that authenticity a lot more.
Shizam?
Yeah, so for my field, I feel like what's really important is that in addition to being your authentic self, is also just being nimble. And so like being flexible and willing to, go, you might have this idea of a path that you want to go towards, and the industry is not yet there for women. COVID has helped in terms of having some hybrid work, so you get you get more of a benefit from being able to raise a family if you want and work remotely. But the challenge is that the path you have in mind is not always going to be as straight and linear, so you need to be nimble and willing to think through, like, how can I strategically position myself to get where I need to be, understanding that the constraints or the conditions of the industry is not yet there. And so I think that that's another thing that's has been really helpful, but then also doing a really good job. Like, the thing about it is, if you're not excellent at your job, then you're going to be discredited. And so if you're excellent at your job, that's one thing that they can't use against you, and they know that you'll be able to get through.
It is the call.
It's called a prayer, I think.
I would say, in this reference to piggyback on that, I would say truly do your best in every place that you go. Let your light shine, like stand out, do extraordinary work, harness your talent, whatever your gift is, and you'll start to understand your gift. When I was younger, public speaking was my gift. I started to participate in this thing called the storytelling contest, then Shakespearean recitation contest, debate teams. I would just pour into that, and it lent itself naturally to city council because you have to give speeches 3 times a day. You've got to do press conferences. You've got to go on the news. So I had been honing that gift, and so it allows me the freedom to be stronger in the workplace. And make sure that you continue your relationships. Always develop relationships on so many levels with, whether you're in school right now, the people that you're surrounded by right now. When I ran for city council, I went back as far as elementary school for people to give campaign contributions to my campaign. I went to elementary school, then junior high school, then college, and all of these people helped in so many ways for me to raise money to run for office. So many people helped me in raising money to build the museum. So keep your relationships, and then finally, family is by far one of the most important things that you need to invest in, develop, nurture, create when that time comes for you. Probably the single most important decision you will ever make in life is who you choose to create a family with. So I would say in all of this work, it's great, it's amazing, but at a certain point, you'll reach a place where you'll say, I realize that building and nurturing my family is probably the most important thing that I will ever really do. So take that very seriously, because that is a huge part of the importance of your role here on Earth.
Wow, deep. Yes. I want to take the elephant out the room, because when I started my career and going through my career, I worked on Wall Street for a number of years, and you hit that ceiling, that systematic barrier that pushes you down, and you feel it, you know it's there. A lot of you are going to experience it in your career. How do you navigate that, and how do you get around it, and what motivates you to keep going and work and achieve success? Because it was a very difficult time for me when I got my first ceiling hit, and I got that meeting with my boss, and he's telling me things that I know I do well, but it's like, okay, you're capping me right now. And so how did you guys pivot, or what did you do to keep moving forward? Because I think success is not it's not linear. It sometimes is horizontal, it goes a little vertical, it may go down, you may jump up. Yeah. So how do you keep going through it?
Yeah, I'll touch on it. So I was also on Wall Street, and that's what I was referring to with being nimble. Because, what you have to understand is, although overall it seems like the industry hasn't changed as much, each group, each manager is different. And so instead, you maybe have thought you're going to rise through the ranks at this one specific company and this one specific group, but maybe you have to be nimble and okay, maybe I'll go to a different group or a different team or a different company in this space. And so what I found is that if you feel like you're reaching that cap in your group, don't let that halt your career projection or whatever your why is or your goals. Try to be strategic and be like, all right, let me network and get to this other firm, because maybe then I can go around it and the culture may be different there. So it's definitely being nimble, not letting that glass ceiling at this one specific place hold you back, because the ceiling might be a little bit higher at a different place. So you just keep trying to get through it that way. There is something to be said to try to break that glass ceiling, but that takes multiple people, it takes time, and it may not be in your lifetime. So just being strategic about that, and if that's the battle you want to fight.
I think it's also really important to tap into what brought you into your field in the first place. So I grew up in the Caribbean, in St. Kitts, and when I had to go to the GYN for the first time, we only had male GYNs on the island. So as a young woman, you can imagine how mortifying that was. But that's what actually pushed me to do research and to look up women's health and to learn about the changes that was happening to my body and the changes to come and will happen. And also it really drove home for me the importance of explaining everything in my exam to my patients and making sure that they're comfortable as well. And that's why, adolescent age group is one of my favorite patient populations to work with, because I always go back to that moment, being a young girl myself. So everything I do, I always explain to you before I do it. I make sure you're on board. I give you room to ask any questions. And I also allow myself time, whether it's at the end of the day, whether it's on my runs, whether it's when I am doing yoga or meditating, the opportunity to stop and reflect on that, because I think that's what constantly feeds your soul when things get hard. You have to tap back into that initial love for your passion.
I have a take, I'm building off of what both of you have said because it hit me in different ways. I thrive off of glass ceilings, cemented ceilings, people telling me no, they say it can't be done, there's no way. I love it. It's like those people that travel far away because they're surfers and they want to see that ultimate high wave, and they're like, that's my wave. So when people say you can't do something, I'm so excited to show them that I can do it. And it takes time and energy, because it doesn't mean that you're gonna just blast your way in. It's like a maneuvering, and you're maneuvering and you're strategizing and you're figuring out how to outmaneuver, how to outsmart, how to strategically move your way into what it is that you want to do. And so that can often be very exciting. And when you hit that moment where you're like, got him, it's like the biggest high in the world. It's like, wow, they didn't think I could do it, and here I am, big, amazing, fantastic. I'm on the cover of the paper, everybody's reading about it, and it's just kind of like you just sit back and yeah, y'all are gonna read about it, but that's okay. And then on the other side, I would say that I'm so rooted into who I wanna be in terms of, I know that advancing art and culture, I know that advancing people of color, so you all being here today is like a dream, right? Because it's like, wow, we are in these spaces where we pay taxes and we're commanding our presence here. So I know I'm committed to that. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I know what I want to do, and whether I'm the Commissioner of Cultural Affairs or a city council member or a stay-at-home mom, I'm still gonna figure out a way to navigate you all being in spaces like this. So you may not even know it, but you're also modeling for the next generation of people. Because the same way you're here at the Met, if you all leave here at the Met and tear up the place, they're gonna be like, no, we can't do that again. But while you're here, you're going on the tours, you're showing how fantastic it is, it's gonna make it so much easier next year to say, we wanna bring twice as many young people to this event because it was such a success last year. So everywhere you go, you are modeling behavior for generations coming behind you. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is that you are always interviewing. You may not realize it, but you're always interviewing. Your teachers are quietly making little mental notes about who they're gonna recommend for an opportunity, who they're gonna recommend for college, who they're gonna write a super great letter of recommendation for and make a phone call, because you've shown and proven that you're a person that they want to invest in. So whether you're here, whether you're in school, whether you're in your internship, you are always interviewing. Just remember that. Don't think that, oh, I'm gonna do this internship and then I'm gonna be out. And no, you need that intern employer to say, hey, I have a good girlfriend that works at so-and-so. I wanna get this young person into that role. So just remember that wherever you go.
Wow, phenomenal. I applaud, please. So much knowledge, so much information. I just want to ask you guys before we close out this segment, who or what has inspired you, young ladies, to be who you are and help create this path of success that you've all have achieved in such a short period of time. I'm gonna start with you, Lori, because
It's so many dynamic and incredible people that have poured into me, many that you know, many that you may not know. I guess I would just say in this moment, I'm really inspired by Shirley Chisholm in terms of her run in 1972 for president, and also now seeing the movie and seeing the history and the trajectory for her to get there. And when I saw the movie, I had known of her story, but to see the incredible obstacles that she overcame for us to be in this moment right now, I feel very inspired by her. But I also feel super inspired by my mom as well, in terms of now that I'm a mom of a 7-year-old, I realize that of all the things that I've accomplished, the most challenging is being a mom. By a landslide. So the fact that she raised me, my mom and my dad, they did a wonderful job, but it was just kind of like, I was like, yeah, you did a good job. Like, it was cool. But now I'm doing it, and I'm like, how in the world did you do this? I'm exhausted. I'm tired. How did you take me to gymnastics class for like 10 years every Saturday morning? Because I want to sleep. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's just phenomenal to see the journey of motherhood. And I would say that to the moms out there, especially the single moms out there, hands down, you all are the real rock stars out here.
My inspiration is near and dear to my heart, my grandmother. She moved to the United States in her 50s and completely changed her career. She was a seamstress in Trinidad. And when she moved here, she started nursing school, became a nurse, and she is still a nurse, practicing at 95. She works 2 days a week. So, your sound effects? So, you know, with that as my example.
She owns real estate in New York.
She owns real estate on the Upper East Side, you know, bought her place back before I was born. She owns it today. So, you know, there is nothing that I feel that I can't do. And then my inspiration is my tribe, my girlfriends. You know, who you surround yourself with will inspire you on the daily. And I constantly look to my girlfriends and think, man, I need to step my game up because they are making moves and doing things. And I think that's really important as well. You know, community and networking and who you surround yourself with, they should always elevate you and inspire you to get to the next level. And mine certainly do.
Chisholm?
Awesome, and mine's very similar. My grandmother and my mom, specifically my mom, moved to this country with my dad. He eventually went back, and so my mom had to raise 7 of us on her own in a new country. And I think seeing how she was able to navigate everything that she didn't expect with grace and to be really successful at it really kind of gave me the mindset to be able to use that as well. And so my path to my career wasn't a straight path, but I knew that I could get through it with my faith in the example that my mom set. So that's my inspiration.
Well, thank you all. We're going to go to lunch, everybody. And we'll be back with more panelists, more segments, and more to come. But thank you guys so much for coming in. Please, everybody come back on time. We got a lot more to come for you guys. So please, let's have fun.